it's nice to have a little bit of humor at the beginning today, because the section that we're going through is quite difficult. Okay. The way it starts out isn't yet difficult, but by the end of the teaching, when you're sound asleep anyway, then it'll have the difficult part. Yeah. Okay.
To the teacher endowed, transcendent destroyer, one that's gone, foe destroyer, completely and fully awakened one, perfect in knowledge and good conduct, one gone to bliss, knower of the world, supreme guide of beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and humans, to you the Buddha endowed, transcendent destroyer, glorious conqueror, Shakyamuni, I prostrate, make offerings and go for refuge. When, O supreme among humans, you were born on this earth, you spaced 7 strides and said, I am supreme in this world. To you who are wise, then I bow. With your body's form supremely fine, wisdom ocean like a golden mountain, fame that blazes in the 3 worlds, winner of the best, supreme guide, to you I bow. With the supreme science, face like a spotless moon, color like gold, to you I bow. You are immaculate, the 3 worlds are not, incomparable wise one, to you I bow. Great compassionate protector, all-knowing teacher, field of merit and good qualities, vast as an ocean, to the Tathagata I bow. Through purity, freeing from attachment, through virtue, freeing from the lower realms. Unique, supreme, ultimate reality, to the Dharma that is peace I bow. Having freed themselves, showing the path of freedom, too well established in the trainings. The holy field endowed with good qualities, to the Sangha I bow. Do not commit any non-virtuous actions, perform only perfect virtuous actions. Subdue your mind completely, this is the teaching of the Buddha. A star, a mirage, a flame of a lamp, an illusion, a drop of dew, a bubble. A dream, a flash of lightning, a cloud, see conditioned things as such. Through this merit may sentient beings attain the state of all-seeing, subdue the foe of faults, and be delivered from the ocean of cyclic existence, perturbed by the waves of aging, sickness, and death. This ground anointed with perfume, flowers strewn Mount Meru, 4 lands, sun and moon, imagined as a Buddha land and offered to you. May all beings enjoy this pure land. Venerable holy gurus, in the space of your truth body, from billowing clouds of your wisdom and love, let fall the rain of the profound and extensive Dharma, in whatever form is suitable for subduing sentient beings. Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kandiryatayami. I take refuge until I have awakened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By the merit I create by listening to the Dharma, I will attain Buddhahood in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I have awakened in the
Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, by the merit I create by listening to the Dharma. I will attain Buddhahood in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I have awakened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By the merit I create by listening to the Dharma, I will attain Buddhahood in order to benefit all sentient beings. So let's generate our motivation. So Venerable Munlam's BBC talk today emphasized the kindness of others and using that to pull ourselves out of stereotyping prejudices or concrete opinions about other people. But there's another way to think of the kindness of others, and that is that to attain awakening, we depend on generating bodhicitta, and bodhicitta is generated in dependence on every sentient being. So it's not, I want to attain awakening for the benefit of every sentient being except so-and-so and so-and-so. If we omit anybody from our bodhicitta, there is no bodhicitta, which means there's no awakening either. So, applying this to our daily life, this is the end of summer, and it is stink bug season and gnat season. Yeah, so there are stink bugs all over, and there are itty-bitty, teeny-weeny gnats that fly around in little balls and little groups. Yeah. And these can be disturbing when you're trying to take a walk, to have gnats, or you're trying to take a walk, for example, circumambulating the Buddha Hall, and you have to play hopscotch, avoiding all the stink bugs. So we could really get peeved about this whole thing. But instead, if we look at each and every gnat, each and every stink bug, and think, my awakening depends on that sentient being. Yeah, that's pretty powerful. Yeah. When there's a spider in your room, my awakening depends on that spider. Yeah. So this can be very helpful for us in terms of really opening our hearts to others and seeing that there's multiple ways in which we are dependent on them and multiple ways in which they are kind to us. So for a minute, think about somebody that you don't necessarily have instant liking for or compassion for or even tolerance of. And focus for a minute on my awakening depends on that sentient being. In that way, generate bodhicitta. Okay, so we're on page 224, the Meditative Absorptions and the Four Truths. So we had gone through the last time, a couple of times ago, how to attain serenity, and then how to progress through the form realm, the four form realm, dhyanas, and the four formless realm, meditative absorptions, by using the practice of seeing the grossness or disadvantages of the lower state of either the desire realm or one of the lower dhyanas and so forth, and the benefits, the peacefulness of the higher states. And in that way, want to attain that higher state of concentration. Yeah. And we also went through some of the factors that are present with each one, for the dhyanas, for example, and how, as you progress through the 4 dhyanas, some factors are left behind as you go higher, and occasionally some new factors enter, okay? And then we talked about the formless realm absorptions, into in infinite space, infinite consciousness, nothingness, and then the peak of samsara, or neither discrimination nor non-discrimination, and how those 4 states of deepening concentration, what differentiates them is the object that they're focused on. Okay? So now the section we're starting today is the meditative absorptions on the 4 truths. Yeah. So the ones that were, depending on grossfulness and peacefulness, those are practiced by non-Buddhists and can also be practiced by Buddhists. But those alone do not lead you to awakening. Yeah. And, you have to focus on emptiness. And to get to emptiness, you go through the 4 truths. Okay? You don't just jump to emptiness. Okay, so the methods to attain serenity, the dhyanas and the formless absorptions, are found in both Buddhism and Hinduism. Christians and followers of other faiths may also benefit from learning the techniques leading to serenity, and we can share these with them. Non-Buddhists who seek to attain the dhyanas and formless realm absorptions practice the mundane path of meditating on grossfulness and peacefulness as described above. So that's the mundane path. When you meditate on the 4 truths, that's going to take you to a super mundane path. Super mundane usually means that you realize emptiness. It's become an Arya. So Buddhist teachers often caution their disciples from seeking the 8 meditative absorptions, a form and formless realm, without first having a clear aspiration to attain liberation or Buddhahood. Their concern is that the disciples may easily become attached to the bliss and equanimity of those meditative states and cease to pursue their spiritual aim of nirvana. Yeah, so good old attachment, our friend. Yeah, you leave behind sex, drugs, and rock and roll, credit cards in a corner offices and, the latest thing on the internet. But instead you get attached to the bliss and the equanimity of these meditative states, which will cause you to be born there in the next life, and you just stay in that meditative state. It's fantastic. The ones in the form realm come out of it from time to time, because they talk to each other and things happen. But, in formless realm, you're just in your meditation. And then there's one meditative state where they say that the only moments of cognition you have is the moment that you are born and the moment you die. And in between that, there's no perception. So quite peaceful. Yeah, you don't have to listen to all the garbage on the internet right now. Yeah. Okay, some people want it for that. Yeah. Followers of the Mahayana in particular are strongly encouraged to emphasize the cultivation of bodhicitta so that they are not distracted by either the joys of samsara or the bliss of the personal peace of arhatship. Okay, so, we often have dialogue with our friends from the Theravada tradition, and their main practice, they will say, is serenity and insight. Yeah, and then we go, wow, they're creating serenity and insight. And I'm just sitting here, precious human life, trying to understand karma. They're much more advanced than I am. Not necessarily. Yeah, because, these are the main objects of meditation. Their teachers also teach on the Four Truths, including dukkha, the causes of dukkha, and so forth, and what is renunciation, how to attain generate renunciation. And we saw from Circum Rinpoche's teachings, he really emphasized very strongly that unless you have some kind of renunciation of samsara, thinking that you're going to realize emptiness, or even, the higher states, because the higher state, that's one at a time. We won't be able to, without renunciation, generate the wisdom realizing emptiness. Yeah, we don't need renunciation of samsara to generate serenity, but we do need renunciation of the desire realm. Okay, the desire realm, and then, as you go up, you have to see the grossness of the lower realms and renounce those as well. So it's helpful to remember that when we talk about renunciation, what we're really renouncing is dukkha. Yeah, it doesn't mean we're renouncing happiness. We're renouncing dukkha. Now you might say, well, why, how come the form and formless realms are dukkha? You have bliss and equanimity there. Yeah, but they're dukkha because you still have the third kind of dukkha, the dukkha of pervading conditionality. Okay, so you're not free of cyclic existence once the karma for those meditative stabilizations to be born in those realms is over. Kerplunk. Okay, down you go. And you're no better off than before you created all, generated serenity. Yeah. Okay. So Nagarjuna tells us, through the elimination of karma and afflictions, there is nirvana. You may say, well, yeah, I know that. What else is new? But the fact that it comes here is, through the elimination of karma and afflictions, there is nirvana. It doesn't say through gaining higher and higher states of meditation and blissing out in them, there is nirvana. And in fact, that's what happens to some of the non-Buddhists. They generate these states of samadhi, and some of them think, oh, this is liberation. I've realized nirvana. Yeah, but they haven't. And it's said that when they die and then they have visions of where they're going to be reborn, that it's really scary. Yeah. So through the elimination of karma and affliction, there is nirvana. Yeah. It's not, through the elimination of meditating on impermanence. Yeah. We have to meditate on impermanence, because to realize emptiness, we have to realize impermanence. Okay? Yeah. But, don't think that just having one good meditation, something you call a good meditation, means that next session, you're in nirvana. It's if it were that easy, we would have done it before. Okay. So Buddhists take this to heart. Buddhists who take this to heart do not follow the mundane path of grossness and peacefulness to attain higher rebirths in samsara. They instead seek the ultimate reality, nirvana. Their aim is liberation or full awakening, and to attain these, they must cultivate the union of serenity and insight on the Four Truths or on emptiness in order to generate the supramundane paths. The supramundane paths are the only paths that can eradicate the afflictive obscurations, and in the case of Mahayana practitioners, also the cognitive obscurations. The mental contemplations that focus on grossness and peacefulness used to attain the dhyanas are not suitable to do this. Yeah, Tsongkhapa said, nowadays there is no one who uses these methods of the mundane paths of grossness and peacefulness to accomplish the actual dhyanas and so on. So there is no one to lead you astray. Yeah, really? There's no one who uses those methods. What Tsongkhapa means, is in Tibet, meditators did not practice the meditations on grossness and peacefulness to attain rebirth in the form and formless realms. Yeah. In this way, they did not get sidetracked by attachment to the bliss and equanimity of the meditative absorptions, and instead they went straight, they practiced accordingly and realized emptiness and eliminated the afflictions. Okay. So Asanga Shravaka grounds speaks of 4 types of people who do not practice the supramundane paths in that lifetime, but proceed only by practicing the mundane path of meditation on grossfulness and peacefulness. So this is talking about people in one specific lifetime who do not, meditate on do the path on the 4 truths, but use grossness and peacefulness. First group, non-Buddhists, because they don't understand the 4 truths, so they don't meditate on them, but they have all the teachings to generate these meditative states. Second group is Buddhists with dull faculties who have excessively emphasized meditation on serenity for a long time. Yeah, so you might be a Buddhist, but you have dull faculties, so you're not really thinking about emptiness, thinking about liberation, and this way is easy to gain concentration. Okay. Third group is sharp faculty Buddhists whose roots of virtue haven't completely ripened. So normally sharp faculty Buddhists would meditate on the 4 truths, but in this case, some of their virtue hasn't ripened to get them into meditating on that topic. And the 4th group is bodhisattvas who defer their attainment of Buddhahood to a future life and do not attain it in this life. Now, why would a bodhisattva do that? We always say, I want to become a Buddha ASAP. Yeah, why would they delay it? Well, they may have been born in a certain realm or in a certain place where there's people that they have a karmic connection with, and if they had done the meditation, they could have reached enlightenment right away, but they wanted to stay and really help those particular beings in that place. Yeah. And, bodhisattvas are born. They may be born, let's say, in the form realm. So what are they going to do in the form realm? Yeah. They're going to teach the beings born there about the disadvantages of the form realm and the disadvantages of the formless realm. Okay, so that could be that they're doing that so they're not attaining, they're deferring their own awakening this life. To attain liberation, it is not necessary to gain all the meditative absorptions of the form and formless realms. In fact, some of the lower absorptions may be more conducive for this. Okay, so Tsongkhapa says, furthermore, even if you do not achieve the higher dhyanas of the form realm or meditative absorptions of the formless realm, but do achieve the serenity explained previously, which is included in the level of access to the first dhyana, then you can achieve liberation, freedom from all the fetters of cyclic existence, by cultivating insight based on that serenity. Okay, so remember, we had those meditative contemplations, the seven of them, yeah? So the first one was serenity. Yeah, so it's a form realm mind, but it's the lowest thing in the form realm. Yeah. But it's possible to combine that with insight into emptiness. Yeah, okay. So in the Mahayana tradition, eventually, my guess is, well, not eventually, my guess is in the Mahayana, since the fourth dhyana is the best one to generate the union of serenity and insight, that most of them would probably go for that. Yeah. In the Theravada, when I was, doing research for this series of books, and His Holiness sent me to Thailand, I was staying at one monastery and discussing with the monks there about, these different topics. And they have a type of arhat called dry, wizened arhats. Okay, you hear that title, dry, wizened, and you picture them arhats with faces like prunes, like they're dry, wizened. What it means, is that they used that first step of serenity, which is also called access concentration in the Theravada tradition. In the Mahayana, it's called the capable. Yeah, and they use that to combine with insight and realize emptiness. They're dry, wizened because they don't have the bliss or the equanimity that comes with generating the actual dhyanas or the formless realms. So that's what makes them dry and wizened. Yeah. But I was surprised to learn that. And then I was more surprised that, it's mentioned in the Mahayana tradition too. Yeah. Okay. So, however, since bodhisattvas' minds have perfected all excellent qualities limitlessly, they have mastered all the meditative absorptions. Yeah. Yeah, so they have to, the whole shebang. Yeah, because they have to master everything, because at one time or another, they're going to meet disciples who they're going to have to teach these things to. And so they have to actualize them themselves, to be the fully perfect teacher, to teach these to the disciples for whom that is the most skillful teaching at one particular moment. Okay. Okay, the three vehicles, Shravaka, solitary realizer, and sometimes we call it Bodhisattva vehicle. I found one person who didn't like that term, Bodhisattva vehicle, because the last path is Buddhahood, and Buddha isn't a bodhisattva. Sometimes it's called Bodhisattva vehicle, because that's what's taking you to Buddhahood. Yeah. Okay. So the three vehicles are distinguished in terms of the method aspect of the path. According to the Prasangikas, followers of all three vehicles realize the same selflessness. This is important. Yeah, the emptiness of inherent existence of all persons and phenomena. To achieve the union of serenity and insight on selflessness, cultivating concentration is essential. In this light, pursuing the dhyanas helps to enhance their concentration. Yeah. So, and this point is important too, that the difference, one of the big differences in the vehicles is in the method aspect of the path. Yeah, in the wisdom aspect of the path, they all realize subtle impermanence, they all realize selflessness, emptiness, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, but the method side of the path is different, because the followers of the Pali tradition don't generate bodhicitta. Yeah, they generate renunciation of samsara, and then use that to enter the paths of the Shravaka or solitary realizer, and they create merit, but they don't create the same kind or amount of merit that a Mahayana practitioner creates. A Mahayana practitioner has to develop renunciation of samsara, but also bodhicitta, which is renouncing also the samsaras of all other sentient beings and wanting to free them. Okay, and therefore the bodhisattvas engage in the 10 perfections, which can be consolidated into 6. But there's all these bodhisattva practices, and this is why the bodhisattva path takes much longer, to get to full awakening than the arhat path, than the Shravaka path takes to get to arhatship, because of the amount of merit that bodhisattvas have to create. Yeah. Why do they need so much merit? Because it's depending on that merit that their realization of emptiness is then able to eliminate the latencies of ignorance. Yeah. Whereas those following the Shravaka path don't eliminate the latencies of ignorance. Yeah. Bodhisattvas do, and it's they do it by virtue of their realization of emptiness. But what motivates them to do that, and what makes their realization able to eliminate not only the afflictive but also the cognitive obscurations, is bodhicitta and the collection of merit that they have. Yeah. Okay. So that's why, some people, when they follow, why do they choose there's many reasons for choosing the Pali, tradition path. But one of them is that, it doesn't take as long, and you don't have to create so much merit. Yeah. So some people seek that. There's also a debate that, do they really realize the same emptiness? Because in the Pali tradition, the usual thing the Buddha says is, not self, not I am, okay? And seems to be negating just, the self-sufficient, substantially existent person. So not even the inherently existent person or the, or the inherently, okay. And so it seems like maybe they don't have the same view of emptiness because they don't negate the same thing. Yeah, Tsongkhapa says they have the same view, the Mahayana and the Pali tradition. Yeah, the people who gain realizations, those people have the same realizations of emptiness, okay? And this will come later in a future book and a future volume. But, when you start studying some of the scriptures in the Pali tradition, there's some things that sound just like Nagarjuna. Yeah. Now, you might be able to understand it this way, where you're negating a self-sufficient, substantially existent person, but that same passage you could understand to be negating an inherently existent person. Okay. So we don't criticize our friends who practice the Pali tradition. Yeah. Either, first of all, we don't criticize the realization of emptiness because, according to our tradition, if they gain arhatship, they have the same realization that we do. And also because those people who are arhats are further advanced than us. And there's no reason to stick your nose in the air and say, well, I'm a Mahayana practitioner. They're only Pali tradition, No, because they have realizations we don't. If you're an ordinary being, excuse me if I make false assumptions against some of you who might be Arya Bodhisattvas. I'm speaking about myself here. Maybe I'm speaking about you. I don't know. Okay. Maybe you're all apparition, appearances of bodhisattvas, so that I can try and create some kind of merit by talking about these complicated topics that I don't understand. Thank you for doing that. Yeah. Okay. So practitioners unite serenity and insight and eradicate afflictions in different ways. Shravakas become arhats by passing through the 5 Shravaka paths of accumulation, preparation, seeing, meditation, and no more learning, the names of which are similar to the Bodhisattva paths, but they're slightly different too when it comes to what's going on. However, they do not need to attain all 4 fruits of the path. Okay, when you talk about the path described in the Pali tradition, you'll hear the terms, sometimes the eight aryas, the 8 kind of sanghas, or the 4 approachers and the 4 people who experience the 4 fruits. Okay, so what it's talking about is one way of delineating the path for the Shravaka and solitary realizers. Okay, so it's 2 pairs, that's how you get 8. 4 are approachers, 4 are fruits. Okay, so the first is approacher and fruit of stream entry, then approacher and fruit of once returner, approacher and fruit of non-returner, and approacher to arhatship, and an arhat experiencing the fruit of arhatship. Okay? the approachers are the ones who are getting ready to bump up to a certain realization of emptiness, okay? So the ones who experience the fruit of stream entry have a direct realization of emptiness, okay? The ones who are the approachers are meditating, who are close to that, yeah, and but they haven't completely gotten that yet, yeah. The once returners, they're called stream enterers because they've entered the stream of the Dharma going to arhatship. The second group, yeah, are once returners, and they're called once returners because they will only take one more birth in the desire realm. Okay. People who have attained the fruit of stream entry at most will take 7 more rebirths before attaining arhatship. So you see why it's quicker, yeah? Not 3 countless great eons, 7 births, yeah? But then again, later, if they want to enter the Mahayana, they have to start all over, yeah? The once returners are so called because they're only born in the desire realm one more time. Yeah, then the third group is the non-returners. Yeah, and they're so called because they're never born in the desire realm again. Yeah, and then arhats or foe destroyers are so called because they've destroyed the foe, the enemy of the afflictions. Okay, and so they all have different levels of what they've eliminated. We'll get into more about the paths and stages of the vehicles when we get to volume 6. We're only on volume 4. So be patient, but you can also read ahead. Okay. Okay, so practitioners unite serenity and insight and eradicate afflictions in different ways. Shravakas become arhats by passing through the 5 Shravaka paths of accumulation, preparation, seeing, meditation, and no more learning. However, they need not attain all 4 fruits of that path. Yeah, the fruits of stream enterer, once returner, non-returner, and arhat, because there are different ways to overcome the innate afflictions, which is what you want to eliminate to attain arhatship, the artificial and the innate. To discuss this in depth would take us into the complex topic of the 20 sanghas. Okay, so I'll read it a little more. This topic involves the many and varied way that Shravakas can attain arhatship, including the realms they abide in while practicing, the afflictions abandoned at the different stages, their meditative attainments, and so forth. Texts present this topic in various ways, and scholars differ in their presentation as well. In addition, the topic can be presented in a detailed or abbreviated manner, which may sometimes sound different from each other in the different scholarly presentations, even when the same scholar wrote both presentations. Okay, so below is one presentation explained briefly. So it's explained briefly because it gets really complicated. So one time when I was studying at Nalanda in France, one Geshe Nima from Losaling came, and I think he was from Gomang, Losaling, not sure. Anyway, he came and we heard teachings from him. Really very, very erudite, but so kind and so, compassionate. Anyway, he taught us the 20 Sanghas. Some people rolled their eyeballs at it. I thought it was really fun. To me, and you would like it too, it was like a game because you talk about different realizations different people on the path have, and who can actualize this and who can skip that and actualize something higher. And there's so many different permutations. So it's kind of like a puzzle, and you get extra credit because it's Buddhism, but you can, it's better than chess or crossword puzzles or things like that. Maybe this is what, because they always say when you get old to avoid dementia, think about puzzles and things like this. So maybe this is what, all the lamas are thinking about is the 20 sanghas. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to have a general brief explanation that is a few pages long. It will get you sufficiently confused, but it's planting seeds, and it does let you know that there's different ways for those who are following the Shravaka path, different ways of getting to arhatship. Okay, so the afflictions to be abandoned are divided into 81 grades. Okay, each of the 9 levels, the desire realm, the 4 form dhyanas, and the 4 formless absorptions. Okay, so those are 9 levels. Yeah, each of those has 3 grades of affliction: the great, the middle, and the small. So 3 times 9 is 27, right? These 3 are further subdivided into 3, like we heard before: the great grade, the middle grade, the small grade, and then the great middle, the middle middle, and the small middle, and the great small, the middle small, and the small small. Okay? So the 9 grades of afflictions for each of the 4 dhyanas and 4 formless absorptions are laid out similarly for a total of 81 grades altogether. Okay, so if you look at the chart, you have the main 3 grades: great, middle, and small, and then each have the subdivisions of great, middle, and small. Okay, so those, what's listed there are the afflictions of the desire realm, yeah, and then each realm has that same number. So there's all of those times 3. Yeah, so you have 27 times 3. Okay, so these afflictions may be abandoned in 2 ways. The first is by temporarily suppressing them by means of the preparation for each successive dhyana. So that's mainly what we've been going through so far, meditating on grossness and peacefulness. The second way of abandoning the afflictions is by eradicating them forever by means of the supramundane path, directly realizing selflessness. So remember, abandon can sometimes mean suppress, and sometimes it means eliminate. Okay, and they're different. Someone may have temporarily suppressed a certain grade of afflictions by the power of their samadhi, but not yet eradicated that level of afflictions by the power of their wisdom. In Shravaka grounds, Asanga describes how Shravakas progressively develop the 7 meditative mental contemplations in relation to the 4 truths. Okay, so here they're meditating on the 4 truths. Yeah, trying to get the super mundane path. So the descriptions of the mental contemplations here differs from that for cultivating mundane insight. The names of the mental contemplations are the same, but what they mean here when we're talking about Shravakas, not Bodhisattvas, but Shravakas, meditating on the 4 truths to attain arhatship. Okay, here's how they're explained. So the first one, the mental contemplation of discernment of characteristics, involves learning, reflecting on, and analyzing the meaning of the 16 aspects of the 4 truths as they apply to all rebirths in samsara. We went through the 16 aspects in volume 3, I believe, wasn't it? Yeah. So those are important. We should meditate on those too. Yeah. So this stage, that first stage there, employs both the wisdom arising from hearing and the wisdom arising from reflection. So we often hear 3 wisdoms: arising from reflection, thinking, contemplating, and then the third one is wisdom arising from meditation. Then the second mental contemplation is the mental contemplation arisen from belief. So it is attained when analysis brings certainty regarding the 4 truths. It is gained through the cultivation of the wisdom arising from meditation, and brings awareness of the full extent and nature of the 4 truths, and evokes aversion towards true dukkha and true origin. So you can see the first one is, you're learning and you're thinking about it, getting a conceptual understanding. The second one is you are meditating deeply, not kind of our meditation, but just, we are meditating, but they're meditating with serenity, long meditative sessions. They're not doing all sorts of other activities too. Yeah. But they can deepen their practice like that, for sure. Yeah. So that they gain the wisdom arising from meditation. And they're aware of the full extent and nature of the 4 truths, and that evokes aversion towards true dukkha and true origins. Nevertheless, a practitioner's mind still resists the peacefulness of nirvana because of strong familiarization with temporary pleasure that has been present since beginningless time. Wow, you have renunciation of samsara because you want to be free of the first 2 truths, but you still have that habit of sensory pleasure. So there's still in your mind some resistance to nirvana. You don't want to leave that cup of coffee. Yeah, this is the danger of getting attached to things, because if we're really, have a lot of familiarity with attachment to something, then it can arise at that point and really block you. Yeah. So that's familiarization with sensory pleasure that has been present since beginningless time. Identifying the conceit, I am, as the source of this, and applying the antidotes to the conceit a practitioner meditates on the subtle impermanence of the mind stream and cultivates a deeper understanding of the 16 aspects of the Four Truths. So how do you overcome that, subtle attachment to, either chocolate chip cookies, coffee, what else? Sex. What else?
Peach cobbler.
What?
Peach cobbler.
Peach cobbler.
Diet Coke.
Diet Coke. Yeah. So you can really see how, you can get stuck. So you have to identify the conceit I am. If you remember when we were studying in Volume 3 all the different afflictions under pride, one of them was the conceit I am. And this one sounds very much like jigta, of self-grasping of our own person. Just the sense of I am. Do you have that sense? Yeah? It's like, I am. I am me. It's a kind of conceit. So identifying the conceit, I am, as the source of this, and applying the antidote to the conceit, which is, you're going to meditate on subtle impermanence, because that feeling of I am is that there's a permanent self, something that's really me that goes from one life to the next. So you meditate on subtle impermanence, of the mind stream, because the mind stream is what we tend to grasp as being the I. And through that, you cultivate a deeper understanding of the 16 aspects of the Four Truths. Okay, so the practitioner then develops awareness that the apprehending mind, has the same nature as the apprehended meditation object, an understanding that arises on the heat level of the path of preparation. Okay, the heat level, there's in path of preparation, there's 4 levels. Heat is the first one. And that's when the demarcation of entering that's when you have your first experience of the union of serenity and insight. That is a conceptual understanding, conceptual realization, actually, of emptiness. So it's a very powerful realization, but you're on the first part of the second path, so there's still a ways to go. It is called heat because the fire of wisdom will consume the kindling of the afflictions in the future. Continued meditation brings the second phase of the path of preparation that is called the peak, which is so called because it's the highest point of unstable virtue. That is, one could still fall back or take an unfortunate rebirth. Wow, you've realized subtle impermanence. You have a union of serenity and insight, conceptual, inferential on emptiness, but you can still fall back to be born in the lower realms. More practice leads to attaining the third level of the path of preparation, fortitude, which is so called because the mind now strongly accepts the Four Truths, and there is no longer the possibility of backsliding. So, no more attachment to Diet Coke, peach cobbler, sex, coffee, chocolate chip cookies, and any of the little things we get attached to on a daily basis. Like when you come to your place and, your bowl isn't where you thought it was going to be, and all of a sudden, attachment arises. My bowl's supposed to be here. And then anger, why isn't it here? And wanting to blame, who moved my bowl? Yeah, you got it. Somebody else. Yeah, she did?
It was me.
Ah, you. Oh, Okay, so by continuing to examine the nature of the mind, the practitioner attains a mental state that seems to be without discrimination, as if the mind lacks an object and has ceased functioning, although it hasn't. So this is the level of supreme dharma, the fourth level of the path of preparation, where one is called supreme dharma because it's your last path of being a non-arya, of being an ordinary being. Yeah, and you're on the verge of perceiving emptiness directly. Okay, so that gets you through the second mental contemplation. Now the third one, mental contemplation of isolation, is attained after the practitioner exerts herself with respect to four truths and generates a direct perceiver of the true nature of the four truths. Okay, so I guess that you're getting the direct perceiver here. Previous stage, it was the inferential one. So this realization marks the advent of the path of seeing and heralds the destruction of afflictions that are to be abandoned on that path. Yay! So those are the artificial afflictions, yeah? The ones that we generate in this particular lifetime. Then the fourth mental contemplation says the next three mental contemplations are attained during the path of meditation. That's the fourth path. Okay. The mental contemplation of analysis examines what obstacles have been abandoned, in this case, which will be the artificial ones, and what are yet to be abandoned. Okay. The subtle ones. Then the fifth mental contemplation of delight. With that one continues to meditate, occasionally investigating what obstacles have and have not been abandoned, periodically generating aversion towards things for which the practitioner should feel aversion, such as true dukkha and true cause of dukkha, and from time to time generating great delight towards things for which she should feel delight. Yeah, true path and true cessation. Okay. Then the sixth mental contemplation. Through practicing the mental contemplation of delight, the fifth one, the Vajra-like concentration arises. So the Vajra-like concentration is the one before you're ready to realize the result of that particular path. Yeah? So it abandons, the Vajra-like concentration abandons all remaining afflictions to be abandoned by the path of seeing. Okay, so this is the mental contemplation of final training. And then the seventh mental contemplation, the result of final training, occurs after the Vajra-like concentration has eradicated all remaining afflictive obscurations, which would be on the path of meditation, and arhatship has been attained. With respect to the way Shravakas proceed on the path to liberation, there are 4 types of Shravaka Aryas: simultaneous eliminators, leapers, gradual attainers, and gradual eliminators. So this is where it gets more complicated, okay? But you don't have to understand it perfectly. If you just get the idea that there's different ways that Shravakas can get to arahatship, that's good enough. And then when you see that you're getting dementia, then you can really study it, okay? Okay, so the first of these 4 ways that Shravakas proceed on the path to liberation. Okay, first one, simultaneous eliminators attain only the fruits of stream enter and arhat, not the fruits of once returner and non-returner. You go, well, wait a minute. Those realizations go step by step. Yeah? How can they skip the middle 2, once returner and non-returner? Okay. It's because of the way they meditate that, after they have stream entry, they're, it'll explain it a little bit here. They can kind of skip those others and, they go straight to arhatship. Yeah. Okay, so here's how it goes. So they attain only the fruits of stream enter and arhat, not the fruits of the once returner and non-returner. They eradicate afflictions by using serenity as the basis for cultivating insight into emptiness. To do this, they employ a preparation of the first dhyana called the capable preparation. This is the one that I mentioned before, okay? So it's the lowest thing of getting out of the desire realm, lowest state of concentration. Okay, but it is a mind of the form realm. So it is attained by first developing serenity and then alternating analytical and stabilizing meditation on emptiness to attain a similitude of insight. When they talk about similitudes, and what that means is that you attain something like whatever it is. Like, for example, I don't know about you, but my bodhisattva vow is a similitude of a bodhisattva vow. Yeah, because to actually receive the bodhisattva vow, you have to have spontaneous bodhicitta. Yeah. Then you might go, oh, what in the world am I doing, taking a vow that I don't have the proper, prerequisites for? Well, you do it because it starts you training in that way and it helps your mind, okay? But it's a similitude of the bodhisattva vow. So here, what they have is they develop serenity, and then they alternate analytic and stabilizing meditation, because you need the analytic to really penetrate emptiness, and you need the stabilizing to integrate that understanding with your mind. Okay, so they alternate those to attain a similitude of insight. Continuing to meditate in this way, they attain a fully qualified insight, which is called the capable preparation. Okay, it is so called because it is able to serve as the mental basis for supramundane paths, the unpolluted paths of seeing, meditation, and no more learning, that are the antidotes to the afflictive obscurations of the 3 realms. We have to eliminate all 81 levels of afflictions, 27 in each realm. Okay, The simultaneous eliminators easily abandon the 81 afflictions of the three realms using the capable preparation, because it abandons, here's the secret, the great, great afflictions of all 9 levels simultaneously, the middle great afflictions of all 9 levels simultaneously, and the small great afflictions of all 9 levels simultaneously, and so on through the small, small afflictions of all 9 levels. Okay, so these, because it's able to use this, the capable preparation, to eliminate, all the great, great, and so on, yeah, all of those 9. At the same time, yeah, they're able to eliminate all 81 quicker. Yeah, some of the other ones, you eliminate 1 level, then 2, and then you count all the way up to 81, doing 1 by 1 by 1. Here, you're doing all the great, great simultaneously, and so on through the 9. Yeah. So these Shravakas go through 9 uninterrupted paths and 9 liberated paths. Okay, so simultaneous eliminators have sharp faculties and attain nirvana faster than the other types of arhat aryas. However, the capable preparation alone cannot abandon the cognitive obscurations because it has only suppressed the afflictions. Okay, then the second group, they're called the leapers. Yeah. So the leapers bypass 1 or more fruits. One type of leaper has suppressed between 6 and 9 of the 9 grades of desire realm afflictions prior to entering the path of seeing. Yeah. So this enables them to leap over the fruit of stream enterer and become a once returner when they attain the path of seeing. The second type of leaper has suppressed all 9 grades of the desire realm afflictions and leaps over both stream entry and once returner, becoming a non-returner upon having attained the path of seeing. Okay. The gradual attainers proceed gradually through all 4 fruits, one after the other. Okay. Then the gradual eliminators, like the gradual attainers, sequentially suppress and eradicate the various grades of afflictions. However, some gradual eliminators attain all 4 fruits. Some do not attain the fruit of stream enterer, and some do not attain the fruits of stream enterer and once returner. Okay, they're gradual eliminators, but they're also leaping in some way. So some Shravakas seek birth in, so that's going through those 4, yeah, not in detail, brief, so you get some kind of idea. Okay, now it's going to talk about how Shravakas want to be reborn in the 5 pure abodes. So the 5 pure abodes are in the, I think, form realm, yeah. I'm sure it says here. Okay, so gradual eliminators, like gradual attainers, sequentially suppress through the power of their serenity and then eradicate through the power of the union of serenity and insight, yeah, the various grades of afflictions. So some of them attain all 4 fruits, some do not attain just the first fruit, and some do not attain the first 2 fruits. So some Shravakas seek rebirth. Those were gradual attainers, sorry. Okay, so now the ones who want to be born in the 5 abodes, yeah, in the form realm. To be born there, they engage in the alternating dhyana meditation. We just read and say, oh, serenity, insight, stabilizing meditation, analytic meditation. Okay, there's some terms and some, categories, but not too confusing. Okay, but here they do the alternating dhyana meditation, which involves alternating between polluted or mundane and unpolluted or supermundane fourth dhyanas. Polluted or mundane fourth dhyanas, they have attained that dhyana through meditating on grossness and peacefulness. The supramundane, they've attained it by meditating on the Four Truths. Okay? So in this way, they transmute previously created propelling karma that would lead to a rebirth in one of the first three realms of the fourth dhyana, so that it ripens instead as a rebirth in one of the 5 pure abodes in the fourth dhyana. Okay? So that's by alternating the polluted and the unpolluted. These abodes are pure in the sense that birth there is not taken by polluted propelling karma. So only Aryas are born there. So Vasubandhu explains the alternating dhyana meditation like this. Initially, the fourth dhyana is alternated. It is achieved by mixing instants. It is for the sake of being reborn and abiding, as well as out of fear due to the afflictions. Because there are 5 types of alternating dhyana meditation, there are only 5 rebirths in pure places. Okay, so who practices or uses alternating dhyana meditation? It is not practiced by ordinary beings, including those on the paths of accumulation and preparation. They're ordinary beings, because it has it is not practiced by ordinary beings because it has an unpolluted component. Yeah. In terms of Aryas, it is not practiced by stream enterers or once returners because they have not attained an actual dhyana and are still liable to be born in the desire realm under the force of afflictions and karma. Thus, it must be non-returners or arhats who practice alternating dhyana meditation. Non-returners do this practice to be born in a pure abode and attain nirvana there. Sharp faculty arhats are liberated, but they do this practice to attain a happy abiding in that life, which is their last life when they've attained arhatship. Dull faculty arhats do it to distance themselves from obscurations that relish the pleasant taste of concentration. Okay, but in which realms is this meditation done? It's practiced either by beings in the desire or form realms. Because the formless realm, you're too settled in, in your meditation. Okay, how many versions of the alternating dhyana meditation are there? There's 5, one corresponding to each of the 5 pure paths. So there's the small 3, the middling 6, and the big 9, the very big 12, and the extremely big 15 alternating dhyana meditations. The next question is, how are they practiced? Yeah, you would think, who named them that? But no, how are they practiced? There are two phases: the preparation when the meditators are training, and the actual practice after they have attained proficiency in the alternating dhyana meditation. The following is the description for the small 3 alternating dhyana meditation. Okay, so this is how they do it. First, the preparation stage. Aryas who aspire to do this practice initially abide continuously in the unpolluted actual 4th dhyana, which is the most serviceable mind because it is free from the 8 faults. We talked about the 8 faults before. Investigation and analysis, which disturb the peacefulness of the concentration. Inhalation and exhalation, which also do, so they stop breathing during meditative equipoise. Physical pain of the desire realm. Hey, that one sounds good, yeah. Mental unhappiness of the desire realm. That one sounds pretty good. Mental happiness up to and including the 2nd dhyana. You don't want that kind of happiness. And the bliss of the 3rd dhyana. Yeah. So that is followed. So what they did is they abide continuously in the unpolluted actual 4th dhyana, yeah, and it's free from those 8 faults. That is followed by continually abiding in the polluted actual 4th dhyana. Now it says polluted. Yeah, second to the last line on that page. After that, they continually abide in the unpolluted actual 4th dhyana again. Initially, they may take breaks between these periods of abiding. Eventually, these periods of abiding become shorter, so that each of the 3 periods of abiding in the unpolluted, the polluted, and then the unpolluted again, 4th dhyana, lasts only 2 moments. You can speed it up at the end. Okay, so these people start out meditating, this is why it's called alternating, in the unpolluted, 4th dhyana. So, yeah, unpolluted, Arya realization. Then they switch, they alternate to having the polluted 4th dhyana. Yeah. Now, why would they do that? Okay. And then the 3rd phase, they go back to the unpolluted one again. Why would they do that? Because it really, it's extremely difficult to do, they say, to go from polluted to unpolluted states of concentration. But they do it because, they enjoy meditation and they want to develop these skills to be able to do that. Yeah. They could just do the access or the capable meditation, zoom ahead, but no, they want to have they don't want to be dry wizened arhats. Yeah. Okay. So then the actual phase of that is once the meditators are trained as above, they do the same 3-period alternation with one effort, that is, all in one go without a break. In one meditation session, quickly, unpolluted, polluted, unpolluted. Yeah, we can't even get the polluted, let alone to the unpolluted, never, going back and forth, okay? So they're doing this also because each of these 5 different ways of doing it, yeah, which we read those 5 ways, will lead to a rebirth in a certain pure land, that are usually for the Shravakas, in the form realm. Okay. So what is the measure of having attained the alternating dhyana meditation? Vaibhasikas say that it is the ability to abide in the unpolluted actual fourth dhyana for one shortest moment, then abide in the polluted actual fourth dhyana for a shortest moment, and finally abide in the unpolluted actual fourth dhyana for one shortest moment. So this entire sequence is done with one effort, and it lasts only for 3 shortest moments. So a shortest moment is 1/64th of a finger snap. Okay, now, can you tell how long 1/64th is and the difference between 1/64th and 2/64th? No. So you can see something, I mean, the way these guys can concentrate is pretty impressive. Okay, but Vasubandhu disagrees, saying that only the Buddha can do that. Thus, he asserts that each phase lasts for a moment, not a 64th, not a shortest moment, a 64th of a moment. That is the length of time of a finger snap. And the Mahayana agree with that presentation by Vasubandhu. So what form does each of the 5 alternating dhyana meditations take? The small 3 is described above. The middling 6 alternates the unpolluted actual fourth dhyana with the polluted ones to make 6 moments. So you would go unpolluted, polluted, unpolluted, polluted, unpolluted, unpolluted, polluted, unpolluted. Yeah, and the big 12 is 12 moments, and the extremely big 15 alternating dhyana meditations is 15 moments of alternating, abiding in the unpolluted and the polluted actual fourth dhyanas. To be able to go from unpolluted to polluted absorptions is extremely difficult, and to be able to do this in the shortest moment is almost unimaginable. Yet these are the skills these diligent Shravakas develop. Okay, if this sounds like pretty intense, just wait when we start talking about the liberations and these other things. Yeah, what those on the Bodhisattva practice do. So the small 3 alternating dhyana meditations bring rebirth in the lowest or first of the 5 pure lands, called not great. I think it's great. Yeah. Bad comparison, not great. The middling 6 alternating produces rebirth in the 2nd pure land, called the untroubled. Okay, and so on, up to the 3rd, which is called the beautiful pure land. The 4th, called the clear-sighted. Pure abode is probably better than pure land, yeah. And the 5th, the highest pure abodes. Okay, so that's how you do it. That's the 5th is the top pure abode for the Shravakas. Asanga's Bodhisattva grounds says that the dhyanas of the Bodhisattvas can be categorized as 2, mundane and supermundane. Alternatively, they may also be classified in 3. Dhyanas cultivated for happiness in this life, dhyanas cultivated to attain the excellent qualities of concentration, and dhyanas cultivated to accomplish the welfare of sentient beings. Okay, let's check the footnotes here. Okay, so the first one, the second one there, that was 68, right? Okay, absorptions cultivated to attain the excellent qualities of concentration include those practiced in common with Shravakas, such as the such as the 8 liberations and the 10 concentrations that see the entire universe as water, fire, and so on. They also include concentrations unique to bodhisattvas that are cultivated limitlessly and have unimaginable diversity, such as concentrations included in the category of the 10 powers and concentrations that Shravakas and solitary realizers don't even have the name for, let alone absorb themselves in. Yeah. Huh?
The footnote is 69.
Yeah, now I'm going to that one, okay? Because there's 2 footnotes in that one paragraph. So 69, there it's the dhyanas cultivated to accomplish the welfare of sentient beings. Yeah. So there are 11 such concentrations that correspond to the 11 groups of sentient beings whom bodhisattvas especially take care to benefit, as mentioned in the Bodhisattva's ethical conduct of benefiting others. So if you look in the auxiliary Bodhisattva precepts, yeah, there's one talking about these 11 different kinds of sentient beings who have different problems and that we should take special care and benefit them. Okay. Yeah. So bodhisattvas seek to develop a mind that is serviceable, wise, and able to benefit others. For this purpose, they need knowledge of the various meditative absorptions, especially the 4th dhyana, the best support to enter the Mahayana path of seeing. Since bodhisattvas are of different faculties and at different stages, they go about this accordingly. There's dull faculty, sharp faculty, and so on. Those bodhisattvas who first become arhats through following the arhat path have attained the dhyanas and the formless absorptions during that path. Some scholars maintain that at the time of having eliminated all afflictive obscurations, Shravaka arhats attain all 8 meditative absorptions, in which case these bodhisattvas would have them. Okay. So new bodhisattvas who did not previously follow the Shravaka path to arhatship could generate the 4th dhyana in several ways. Sharp faculty disciples who have already had an inferential realization of emptiness now make effort to attain the concentrated mind of serenity. So some on the bodhisattva path realize emptiness before serenity. Yeah, usually it's serenity before emptiness. You know how it's taught in the sequence. But the sharp faculty bodhisattva, they're called sharp faculty bodhisattvas. They can generate, an inferential understanding of emptiness even before they enter the path of accumulation. Yeah, and they do that because they want to really understand that attaining awakening is possible. And since realizing emptiness is the one and only way, final way to realize, to gain Buddhahood, yeah, they want to realize that emptiness, and then they're convinced Buddhahood exists, and then they generate serenity, and then they combine serenity and insight. However, those who have used a meditation object other than emptiness to attain serenity must gain the correct view of emptiness and then traverse the 9 stages of sustained attention to gain serenity with emptiness as the object. So if you were a bodhisattva and you were meditating on the body of the Buddha as your meditation object, okay, and you attain serenity using that, not using emptiness, then you have to go, realize emptiness and go through the 9 stages of sustained attention to get to this stage. I think it's time to end, huh? Yeah? Before our minds explode. Mm? But if for no other reason, it's important to learn these, to learn all the different ways that people can practice, yeah, and all the different sequences that people can have in how they realize it, and still come to the thing of realizing, eliminating all of the afflictions and attaining nirvana. Okay, she raised her hand first. Yeah?
How can an arhat who is liberated abide in a polluted dhyana, which is a polluted mental state?
They're just going in that dhyana, to increase their flexibility in their concentration. They're not losing their meditation, or they're not losing their realization. It's just that it's a different kind of concentration. So they do that to develop their ability in concentration. Yeah.
What's the drying and wizening factor that is overcome by going all the way through this long thing?
They don't. They attain arhat. The ones that drive wisdom arhats, yeah, remain dry and dry and wizened. Yeah, they've realized emptiness, but they've used this comparatively low level of concentration to do that, and so they're dry and wizened because they don't have the comfort that having the dhyanas brings, or having the formless realm absorptions brings. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't even have a similitude of understanding, but one thing I didn't understand at all was in the explanation of the gradual attainers and the gradual eliminators. Mm-hmm. It says that some gradual eliminators attain all 4 fruits. Mm-hmm. How is that different than from a gradual attainer?
Let me go back to that. Mm-hmm.
This is page 229.
229, okay. Mm-hmm. Some gradual attainers No, some gradual eliminators attain all four fruits. Some do not attain the fruit of stream enterer, and some do not attain the fruits of stream enterer and once returner, whereas the gradual attainers do everything.
But it says that some gradual eliminators attain all four fruits. So for those people, how are they different from a gradual attainer?
Some
Gradual eliminators
yeah,
attain all four fruits.
fruits. Probably, my guess is it has what you've suppressed and what you've eliminated, because many of them suppress the afflictions and then use the unpolluted concentration to eliminate them, which makes it easier to eliminate them because you've already suppressed them. Yeah. So I think it must have something to do with that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. But I'm sure that you can study this and, yeah, and figure it out. I'm sure you can make a big, beautiful flowchart about all these different possibilities. There's only 20 Sangha. Yeah. But they do it all sorts of different ways, yeah? It's amazing. Now, why one person does one way and not another way? Ask that person. Okay.
Just a quick question, Venerable. Way back on page 224.
Page what?
Page 224, way back.
That where we started,
Yeah.
okay.
So in the paragraph that says, Buddhists who take this to heart.
The paragraph where? Buddhists who take this to heart?
So after it says Nagarjuna tells us.
Can you talk louder? I can't hear you.
Sure.
Ah,
So after it says Nagarjuna tells us, then the next paragraph down, Buddhists who take this to heart.
yeah.
Okay.
That's
not-
what I just said.
Okay.
Do not follow the mundane path of grossness and peacefulness
So, right.
in order to attain the higher rebirths in samsara.
So here's where my question is coming up. Their aim is liberation or full awakening.
They're what?
Their aim is liberation or full awakening, and to attain these, they must cultivate the union of serenity and insight on the Four Truths or on emptiness. So I thought they had to get to the Four Truths first to get to emptiness, but here it says or.
Ask them. I mean, the emptiness is included in the Four Truths.
Okay.
So, somehow, I don't know. And if that makes a big difference in your ability to calm your mind, I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't know. It must. Anybody have any guesses? Okay. Can somebody ask me a simple question, please? Yeah, okay.
Because this process of suppressing and then eliminating is not
Yeah.
something I've heard before, or maybe I've just missed it. But is that exclusive to this path, or is that in general the process that first through your meditation you suppress them?
It's going to depend on the level of concentration somebody attains. Yeah. And also with the bodhisattvas, some of them are dull faculty. They eliminate all 81 one by one. And some are sharp and, according to Sutra Path, do it in 9. So it varies. Yeah. Yeah. Why do they do it differently? Please ask them or their teachers. Yeah. Don't ask me. Okay. why in the world did we put this hard stuff in the book? This makes emptiness look easy. Okay, but wait till we get to the 8 liberations. Yeah, the 9 serial absorptions. And then you see, I mean, what some of these practitioners do, it's difficult to understand going from one level to the next level. And, it has to do with developing that flexibility in their mind. And we think of concentration as, okay, you get concentration, that's it. Okay. But when you think, what's going on in the Heart Sutra? The Buddha's meditating on the, what's the name of the concentration? Illuminating all phenomena, something like that. Yeah, we say it every day, but we forget it when we have to say it. And then there's the concentration on this and the concentration on... There's tons of different concentrations that these people meditate on to develop different abilities. Because if you are going to be a skillful teacher that knows exactly how to benefit each sentient being according to their disposition, according to what karma is ripening at that moment, you have to know a lot of things, and you have to have a mind that's incredibly flexible. Yeah? Because what if you have a student who, is doing this alternating meditation and you don't know how to do it? And your student asks you a question, then you're going to wind up like me saying, I don't know, Okay, so that's why bodhisattvas have to learn all these things, and there's so many different concentrations. Yeah. And, it takes 3 countless great eons. Yeah. And that's after you've entered the path of accumulation. Yeah. One countless great eons on the path of accumulation, path of preparation together. Another countless great eons on the first bhumi to the 8th bhumi, and then your last countless great eon from the 8th, 9th, and 10th bhumis, then Buddhahood. So there's and when you start thinking of an omniscient mind and what an omniscient mind knows and what a Buddha who has that kind of those kind of qualities and knowledge and sensitivity and so on. I mean, it's just mind-boggling. It's going to take some time and some effort and to really, understand and actualize these things. Last question. Yes, it's almost 8 o'clock. We're over time. Teacher's about ready to fall off the seat.
I just want to share a quick fun fact. I was reading Geshe Sopa's commentary on calm abiding and came across, he said, a countless great eon is an actual number. It's 10 to the 60th. I just thought that was fun to know.
Yeah, 10 to the 16th.
60th.
60th.
60.
10 to the 60th. Okay. Of what? Yeah.
Eons, I guess.
Eons, and how long?
Great eons.
Yeah, which kind of eons? There's the main eon, that it has 4 smaller eons in it, and then a certain number of those eons make a countless great eon.
I'll have to go back and look.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, let's offer the mandala. So when you offer the mandala, you have to think of this whole universe with all these different kinds of beings who have actualized all these different kinds of things that we don't even understand when they're described in a book. Yeah?
Not yet.
What?
Not yet.
Not yet. Yes, thank you. We don't yet understand them. Yeah. So that's why we just keep plugging along. Yeah? And say you don't know when you don't know.
May the spiritual teachers who lead me on the sacred path, and all spiritual friends who practice it, have long life. May I pacify completely all outer and inner hindrances. Grant such inspiration, I pray. May the lives of the venerable spiritual mentors be stable, and their virtuous actions spread in the 10 directions. May the light of Lobsang's teachings dispelling the darkness of the beings in the 3 worlds always increase. Idam Guru Ratna Mandalakam Niryatayami. Due to this merit may we soon attain the awakened state of Guru Buddha, that we may be able to liberate all sentient beings from their suffering. Make the precious Bodhi mind not yet born arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore. In the snowy mountain pure land, you're the source of good and happiness. Powerful Tenzin Gyatso Chenresi, may you stay until samsara ends. May the deeds of explaining and practicing the Dharma, done by groups supporting the teachings and their upholders, who spread the view of dependent arising and non-violent actions in the 10 directions, and especially at Sravasti Abbey in the west. Floor